Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris on France 24. It's the time of day when we find out what's making a buzz in the French press and on the blogs and the websites. James Creedon's here. Good evening to James.
Good evening, Laura.
We're talking about the socialists tonight because they're having their last debate before they decide who will fight Nicolas Sarkozy next year. Very exciting.
So while we're having a bit of a chat here, there's a much more exciting chat going on in another studio across town where there are all these socialists battling it out for, who represent the socialists next year. Now, in any case, there's some interesting coverage in the press today in France. Slate.fr, now that's the French version of the American magazine Slate. And they have an article translated into French by James Traube. Now, he writes sometimes for Foreign Policy. So this is the American perspective on the French primaries, because, of course, the French primaries...
They don't like socialists in the States, do they?
Well, they don't really like socialists. They're not much into kind of hard lefties. But not that the socialists, I suppose, are hard lefties. But the thing is, this whole socialist, the primary thing is very much inspired by the American model of primaries. Right. So this is an American perspective on that. They think it's something between the 70s show and Back to the Future. That's what he thinks anyway, James Traube. You know what? Les Français ont découvert les primaires. French people have discovered primaries. He also says that it's like an 80s version of the primaries in France.
Looks a bit like a game show if you look at it from there, doesn't it? They all got buzzers.
When they were doing primaries in the 80s in the US, it was in a TV studio and it was with kind of one or two journalists, and there wasn't really any big audience. When you see primary debates now in the US, there are these big events with bunting and shouting and big screens behind the candidates. So
are they as slick as their American counterparts, the French politicians?
Well, they're not, you see, and this is what he's saying. He thinks that it's all a little bit dated looking, and that, while in the US many are getting tired of these endless TV debates and the whole thing is getting a bit jaded, in France everybody seems to be quite wide-eyed and excited and maybe even blown away by this new populist type of politics. So he is kind of chuckling away a little bit at the French, catching up very, very late in the day with something the Americans have been doing for decades.
It's a bit, that show The Weakest Link?
It's a little bit like that, isn't it?
And nothing like that.
And they're all the weakest link, except, I suppose, except for that one lucky guy or girl.
Exactly.
Who represents the socialists.
Okay, well, a very important constituency here in France is the bobos, as they're called. Now, let me explain. This is the bourgeois bohèmes, the bourgeois bohemians. So the people who like to dress not very nicely, but they have a lot of money in the bank.
Kind of vintage clothes,
skinny
bio-cotton
jeans,
shirts,
mullets, one earring, but they
exactly. It's sort of what would you say? It's the equivalent of Shoreditch Hackney in London and maybe Brooklyn, Lower East Side in New York. Yeah. You've got them all they're all up in the northeast of Paris, hanging out together. Are
you a bobo?
I don't know. Can you be a foreigner and be a bobo?
When you wear those thin ties.
This is a bit bobo, I suppose, a little bit. But I don't know, should I admit that? In any case, so what they're doing here, and this is quite interesting, they're saying who are the bobos who will they vote for in the socialist primary? So they've passed them on the Bobo meter, they're calling it here, the 6 candidates in the primary and the Bobo meter. So François Hollande, here he is here. Now, he's slimmed down quite a bit since a couple of years ago. You can see
he's been on the Dukan, hasn't he?
He has indeed, the Dukan diet. And they're saying that actually he is the favourite for the Bobos, or for the Bohemians. 18 out of 20 they give him.
Because he's skinny.
He's skinny. He's kind of the urban candidate. He's said that he's going to give 60,000 jobs for the education sector. A lot of teachers are a bit, boho trendy. Also, Benjamin Biolay, a very trendy French singer, he's going to vote. He's going to give his vote to François Hollande. What about Martine Aubry? She got 16 out of 20. Apparently, she's not as much of a fan of the media. She doesn't really communicate. Exactly, lots of eyeshadow. But in any case, there are lots of journalists in the media, so the fact that she's not so big on journalists sometimes might explain why she got a lesser vote. You've got Ségolène Royal. She's well down the list because last time out she was the candidate of choice.
Isn't
she is really, and she's also going for the more rural vote this time round. So she only got 8 out of 20.
8 out of 20.
So François Hollande, he's getting the trendy vote.
Okay, all right. Now, what about people who are coming back to the Socialist Party? They've decided they put their money on the right, and now they've a bit fed up with that, so they're coming back to their traditional leftist roots.
I suppose the most famous one of these socialists who came over to join Nicolas Sarkozy back in 2007 was this guy, Bernard Kouchner, former foreign minister. And now a lot of them, not just him, but senior civil servants, well-known economists who were sort of advising Sarkozy, such as Jacques Attali, for example, they're all now slowly but surely drifting back to the left.
Oh, they're so fickle, these
They are so fickle.
Types,
and a lot of it is they're keeping their eye on the polls, and they're like, oh, the left seems to be doing quite well. Maybe I'll back the winning horse and just go back
So
to
when
the
you're
old.
in the supermarket, you keep trying to get to the front of the queue.
Which line exactly? Which line is going faster? So in any case, some would also say that the reason you have so many of these politicians going back to the Socialist Party stable is that Nicolas Sarkozy opened up to the left at the beginning of his presidency. It was called l'ouverture vers la gauche, or an opening up or poaching of left-wing candidates. Since then, he's sort of taken a swing to the right. So maybe some of these people are also a little bit disillusioned.
All right, let's end with something completely different. There's nothing like going mad on a tractor, is there, James?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
We're both from rural backgrounds, aren't we?
Now, this was on the 1 p.m. news in France, and of course, it's a Brit going wild up in Nottingham. It would be. So let's have a look at the pictures. This is going back to July of this year. He got a 4.5-year prison sentence for this little stunt. He robbed a JCB.
Where's he going? Is he doing that on
well,
purpose?
where is he going? I don't think he knows where he's going. He was being chased by the police, you see, so he was trying to get away, goes
my
through this
goodness.
hedge, and then ends up, wait for it, inside a cemetery before knocking over a few tombstones along the way. You shouldn't be laughing at this, Laura. It's very serious. And in any case, he ended up getting 4.5 years in prison because his tire came off,
Quite
and then they
right,
caught him. And the judge said that he was like a man possessed, and that there was little defence for Stephen Reagan 34's actions.
James, I'm speechless.
Well,
You've done it
he
again.
was too, I suppose, when he was caught up with.
Absolutely. James Queenan with
Thanks,
Media
Laura.
Watch. Many thanks indeed. We better leave it there. His web news.
Mentor.
That's right.